Okay, for parents, this is one of the hardest things to contend with. How do you protect your children from the people who are entrusted to teach them when things go wrong, especially? Faith Colson understands that fear firsthand. A policy expert and advocate, she is also a survivor of educator sexual abuse herself. And now she's a mother of 3 school-aged children, too. Faith has spent years pushing for school safety laws across Texas, and she is with us this afternoon to talk about what parents can actually do here. Faith, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk about a subject that is a difficult one.
Thank you. I think starting the conversation is really part of the solution. So thanks for having me.
So we, talked about this in our lead story. We've got news again here in North Texas about allegations involving educators here in our area. So this is top of mind for a lot of parents right now as they get ready to send their children back to school once again. What would you say that parents can do to vet the people who are teaching and caring for their kids, whether it's conversations with the school or maybe even independent research that they're doing on their own?
So I think it can be an overwhelming task to try to understand what is in our control and what isn't. And so parents want to keep their kids safe from all forms of harm, but there are some things that we may not have access to that, the hiring people in a school district would. And so as a parent, I have not invested my time doing research on the background of the teachers in the classroom, but where I do think parents have some control and some opportunity to educate themselves is knowing the local board policies and talking to the local administrators to understand the expectations and the code of conduct for all employees and authority figures in a school, so that then they can also have conversations with their students to help them understand what is appropriate behavior.
And these things are difficult, but you have to ask those difficult questions sometimes, especially when, it's your children that you're talking about here. Let's turn the conversation now to what you say to your kids. How does a parent speak to their kids in a way that helps them to feel prepared, but you don't want to cross that line of actually scaring them in case they ever end up in one of these dangerous situations? You want them to know what to do.
Correct. And I definitely felt that tension as a mother, but also as a survivor who knows the impact of this and wanting to prevent that from happening to my children. I definitely think that the way you talk to your kids is going to depend on their age. So when my kids were young, we talked about basic body safety. So we taught them correct names of body parts. We talked to them about if anyone asks to see or touch their private areas, to say no and to tell an adult. So simple things like that, where you're not making them think that all adults are scary, but you're giving them some tools to name things and to get help. Now, when my kids were older, junior high age, now my kids are in high school, we'd have some pretty specific conversations about boundaries and just establishing and having conversations about healthy peer-to-peer interactions, healthy adult-to-student interactions, and maybe just giving them examples of, here's an appropriate example of physical contact, here's an example that isn't, and keeping that line of communication open so they know if they're ever uncomfortable, they can always come to you.
I like it that you build that bond of trust and it's not a one and done situation with these conversations, so that your child always feels like they have a safe space to come and talk to you if something terrible is happening, or even some small odd sign has happened, because these are difficult things to talk about. You have shared that you're a survivor yourself, and now you're raising children of your own, of course. What do you say to parents who think that they've done everything right, but they still worry that maybe there's something they've left uncovered?
I think part of that comes with parenting. And of course, sexual abuse is one of the most disturbing things we can think about happening to our children. But we have to focus on what we can do. So that's, like I said, focus on knowing what the school's policies are. If you're not finding the answers, what is the local electronic communication policy? That's an easy, very relevant question to ask. How are adults communicating with students? How are safety protocols in place? What the reporting mechanism is? And just educating yourself so you know what the expectations are on the adults, and empowering your children to come to you if they're uncomfortable, and then reporting things early. So if you're asking your kid every day, how's your day? And they're constantly talking about the same adult, or they're talking about being isolated or having sexual conversations with an adult, anything that seems off to you, if the student isn't picking up on that, that's an opportunity for you to talk to your student about, hey, tell me more about that. And it's an opportunity to report to the proper authorities, which may be the school, may also involve outside authorities depending on the severity.
I think that's some great information there, especially the nuanced part. If they just keep talking about the same adult, I mean, it may not mean that something bad is going on, but it's something that should maybe make your radar turn on. If you're a parent and you're noticing signs of abuse, Faith, or something worse, like something's already happened, what are the first steps?
So there's two main things: listen and support your child, and report. So again, who you report to may depend on the level of behavior, but you want to make sure that if your child is telling you something, that you remain calm, you listen, and if then depending on what they're telling you, it may require an outside report. It may just require emailing the school like, hey, I don't know if something's going on. This seemed off. Can you please document and monitor this? Because documentation helps connect those dots and intervene before more heinous behavior occurs. Now, you at the start of the hour, you talked about this case where there were warning signs brought up and nothing happened. Parents also have the ability to report directly to the Texas Education Agency. And so if you've made a report to the school, if there's inappropriate touching, make an outside report to DFPS. If there's an emergency, call law enforcement. But if you've made the report to the school and they're not taking appropriate action, you can also directly report to TEA if you think the school is not taking appropriate steps to ensure the safety of your child.
For so many parents, and especially at this time as we're heading into another school year. Faith Colson, thank you so much for taking the time with us to talk about this. It's something that has to be talked about.
Thank you. I appreciate the coverage. And for the parents out there, if this does happen to your child, know that there's hope and you just get the support you need so you can support your child.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.